どこですか？
わかんない。
上海。私の出身大学は上海です。Hello, it's your American friend Anming, living here in Japan. I first came to Japan in 2015, coming over from China where I had lived for quite a few years, and there's just certain things I wish I had known before I got here that would have made the transition a lot easier. Now, of course, I wasn't completely unaware of Japan when I came here. I had done some research, I had some knowledge about the country, but there were certain things that would have helped, and we're going to talk about those today. Now, yes, I knew about the notoriously crowded trains, though that didn't make it any less shocking. I knew about the natural disasters. I even knew about the high cost of living here. But there were certain things that I realized when I came over here that just didn't match up with what I thought the country was. And we're going to talk about those things today. And we'll start off with number one, the strictness of Japan. Now, I was rather nervous to come over here because I had been told that Japan is really strict. There's a lot of rules and 14 things you should never, ever, ever do in Japan. But I slowly realized that a lot of people were doing those things, that it wasn't that strict, that this isn't North Korea, that, you know, you're not being monitored all the time, or people aren't just standing there silently judging you all the time, that it's just a country of people, and those are best practices. Now, these images are not to dox anyone, I'm not trying to shame anyone, but rather just showing you a slice of life that I can see as I walk around the country. Yuki-san. Yuki-san. He's eating potato chips. He's eating potato chips.
Different potato.
He's eating potato chips. He's eating potato chips inside the temple. Okay, so don't say that only foreigners do kind of rude things in Japan. That is just not even right to say that. Anybody can do rude things in Japan, including Japanese people, right, Yuki-san?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, really.
Man, people are people, let's be honest. But Anming, you missed the mark here on Japanese strictness because you didn't talk about institutions. That's where the strictness is, in schools and workplaces. Well, I would argue that there's a lot of strict things in American workplaces that Japanese would find very shocking. Like the fact that a lot of us drink alcohol, but we're not supposed to talk about it at work. That it's considered to be very unprofessional. That posting a picture of you and your buddies drinking on a social media account that belongs to you could lose you an interview. It could be held against you. And also the fact that we're not really supposed to have romantic relationships with our coworkers in a lot of offices. That would be really shocking to Japanese people, so it's all a matter of perspective. Well, I'd say job well done. We ate it all. It's gone. Nothing left. The next thing that I wish I knew before I came to Japan is very specific to me. As a person who studied Chinese before learning Japanese, I had heard of this thing called onyomi, which is the Chinese reading of the Japanese words, and I thought they would be close enough that I could get away with asking directions using the reading of the kanji in Chinese, and all it did was really confuse people. Now, oh, 綺麗ですね。獅子舞。
あ、そうです。
横浜中華街。
あ、そうです。
横滨中華街。开元龙。校门福来。对不对？
すごいですね。
中国語の読み方もわかります。
あ、素晴らしいですね。はい。
綺麗ですね。
東京住んでます。
今住んでます。全員同じシェアハウスに住んでます。ルーメイトです。
シェアハウスね。
ああ、はい。
じゃあみんな幸せ。
みんな幸せです。仲良くしてます。T シャツも中国語ですね。欢迎光临。
欢迎光临。
欢迎光臨。
欢迎光臨。欢迎光臨。発音は綺麗です。
難しいのよ。
難しいと思いますよ。外国人だから。 The first time I ever came to Japan was to participate in a language program for 1 month at a language school. So the teacher went to the airport and picked me up, and I thought he would know English, but in reality he didn't. So thank God for some audio lessons that I listened to before I came to Japan for the first time, because it really saved my butt and made that 2-hour train ride back to the school dormitories a lot less awkward. Now, he told me that the school was providing me with a futon, and in my head that was like a couch thing with a pull-out mattress, but in reality it wasn't. So I ended up in a room with this futon thing on the floor with 3 girls, and oh my gosh, I really wish I had known that, because I wasn't prepared for that. I can do futons now, but being a newbie to Japan, that really hurt my back, so I was on the floor for a month. That was kind of rough. Wow, this is quite a traditional little room, isn't it? It's got everything. These tatami floor mats. This is a real Japanese futon, or futon as it's called. And then the table is right on the ground. I don't think a lot of Americans know what a actual futon looks like. It's just basically a bedspread on the ground. Coming to Japan for the very first time and spending a month here was a really shocking experience, and unfortunately I did not come away from that experience with a very good impression of the country. And that's something that I wish I knew before I came here, because I spent almost my entire time in Tokyo. I thought people were cold, that they weren't friendly, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So I wish that I had seen more of the country and seen more of the countryside, and I would have come out with a much brighter first impression of Japan. Now, of course, I love the country now, but that took a while. I had to go out and give it another chance to realize how cool it really is. Konnichiwa. See, people are nice here because they wouldn't really say konnichiwa to you in Tokyo, just out here. It kind of reminds me of Michigan, where I'm from. You wanted to see the countryside? Well, here it is. Tochigi-ken, Utsunomiya. Utsunomiya is pretty darn countryside. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours north of Tokyo by train, and yeah, it's pretty rural. So is this what you expected? Wow, can you see all of these dragonflies in the air? Okay, so we have to admit there is something quite charming about the Japanese countryside that's just really special. Not as overrated as you might think. It's actually kind of cool.